old guns. Out of kits they're making them where you find a lot of old parts like the lock and the stop.
Fiberglass was coming in.
Ooh, school's in session. You just got
Basically insulting me with the paint thing, the petty stuff, you know? That's a good-looking bow.
Pawnstars is definitely a fun show that demonstrates some seriously impressive negotiation skills to make the most money possible. So let's start out with a man who brings in something massive.
I came down to the pawn shop today to sell my 1958 Glastron Seaflight. I have another project in mind, and it happens to be another big fin boat. I'd like to get $10,500 for that boat because...
Well, this guy named Jimmy is so excited about this rare gem he has. Turns out there are only 150 of these babies out there, and they're made by a little-known company called Gastron. Now, the men aren't one to splurge on boats, because they cost a pretty penny. But this one caught his attention, and he's curious to learn more. This boat he stumbled upon was built back in 1958, during a time when everything had those sleek fins to make them look like rockets. And let me tell you, those fins give this boat a real cool vintage vibe. So Jimmy and the crew continue to discuss this boat, and they straight up ask him, how much are you looking to get for it? And guess what? Jimmy wants a whopping $10,500. Now, that sounds pretty unreasonable considering the paint is chipping off, and it doesn't even have the original motor. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Why would anyone want to fork over that much dough for something that needs some serious TLC? It's definitely got them scratching their heads and wondering if Jimmy's lost his marbles. I mean, it's a cool find and all, but is it really worth that hefty price tag?
I mean, I wish I could do something. It's just, I don't even want to make you an offer. There's too much work that's got to be done for me to make anything.
No, okay.
All right.
That's fine.
Well, thanks for bringing it in, though, man.
It was basically insulting me with the paint thing, the petty stuff, you know? That's a good-looking boat. This guy doesn't...
Yeah, it's a bit puzzling why our buddy Jimmy got all defensive about it. I mean, they were just questioning the steep asking price, given the boat's condition and missing original parts. It's only natural to wonder why someone would demand such a high amount for something that needs some serious fixing up. It'd be kind of stupid to pay such a huge amount for the boat. So next we got this intriguing item called the Hudson Bay Gorget, dating back to the 1700s, and the owner, Chris, believes it's worth a whopping $100,000. That's a serious chunk of change.
1800s. I don't know a whole lot about it. My dad actually got it. He picked it up at an auction.
Do you know what he paid for it?
Second mortgage on his house.
Now, what piques the interest on the show is the historical significance of the gorget. They mention that even the ancient Romans used similar pieces as a defense against knife or sword thrust to the neck. Pretty fascinating, right? On top of that, the Hudson Bay Company, one of America's oldest trade companies, used to conduct business with Native Americans. Now, the big question lingers. Are they going to buy this from Chris?
Yeah, how much you want for it?
For about 100,000.
You know, I don't see that happening.
Why not?
Because I think it's worth a lot less.
How much less?
Like 99,000 less.
Yeah, so like when they start talking about it, doubts start creeping in, man. The experts on the show are all like, hey Chris, this gorget doesn't seem to be from the 1700s, bro. And get this, they mentioned that the yellow-gray stuff on it suggests it's made of nickel silver, which wasn't even a thing until the 1800s. They even break it down for Chris, saying it's probably like 20% zinc, 20% copper, and 60% nickel. They're trying to give him some historical and material insight, you know? But here's the crazy part. Chris ain't having it, man. He's all like, nah, I still think this gorget is totally from the 1700s, guys. He's standing his ground, fully convinced, even with all the evidence they're throwing at him.
Really, until the 1800s.
All right. What the are you talking about?
Son, you're way out of line.
Basically, I'm just trying to tell you, I've seen auctions for these things, and they generally go for right around $1,500.
All right.
I'd offer you $1,000.
I don't know what you're smoking, man, but...
Unfortunately, things don't turn out in Chris's favor. The disappointment starts to sink in. He feels like they perceive him as some inexperienced kid trying to lowball them. It's a tough blow for Chris, leaving him feeling let down by the whole experience. Perhaps he had set his expectations too high, as the reality of the situation reveals that maybe the gorget wasn't as valuable or historically significant as he initially thought. Kind of stupid of him to try to sell it at such a high price to begin with. Up next, we got this massive rifle that grabs everyone's attention. This thing is no joke. It's big, it's bold, and it means business. The moment they see it, they are absolutely blown away because these rifles are like nothing they've ever come across before. And moreover, they're rotating barrel rifles, a design that dates all the way back to the 1600s. Now, the owner Mike describes these rifles as extremely unique, and he tries to show off how they're held up to aim. That's where the advantage of a rifle with a rotating barrel comes in. It allowed for quick reloading, giving hunters an extra shot in a jiffy. Now, even though this rifle is in superb condition, our experts spot a couple of issues right off the bat. Mike reveals that this rifle is left-handed, which is pretty rare. But how can you determine a price when some components have been replaced? With all these factors in mind, the time comes for Mike to put forth his asking. So they decide to bring in this expert who's like a total pro when it comes to these rifles. They're aiming for an accurate valuation, you know. So here comes Craig Gottlieb, who has had prior interactions with Mike, and he suggests that the rifle could have been made by William Hart based on the presence of hearts in the inlays. It's an interesting theory, but the logic behind it remains unclear. However, William Hart was known for making guns in Fredonia, New York, around the years 1823 to 1831. This revelation surprises Mike, as he believed the rifle to be that old. However, it's definitely throwing a wrench into the works.
40s or 50s. These are not old guns. Out of kits they're making them where you find a lot of old parts like the lock and the stock. These were made in the 1830s, 1840s.
So this gun is an assortment of older and newer parts.
Indeed, it's a bit disappointing to discover that the rifling and other components of the rifle are more modern than initially anticipated. Moreover, there's a possibility that some parts might have been recycled from the 1830s. Now, Craig puts forth his assessment, suggesting that the rifle is worth a maximum of $750. Or perhaps $1,000. Well, it seems like the negotiation took an unexpected turn. Mike was initially trying to sell the rifle for $4,000, but the folks on the show counter with an offer of $2,000 for the pair. As we wrap up this wild ride through the world of pawnshop blunders and head-scratching moves, one thing's for sure: the Pawnstars won't stay down for long. So, which moment left you dumbfounded? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay in the loop for more mind-blowing content, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay on the lookout for those hidden gems, and may your pawn adventures be filled with crazy twists and epic wins. Peace out.